Hi there. Pleased that you clicked on this video, and I'm happy that you are interested in art. Art is a subject that is, in a way, both a very highbrow, very elitist discussion of what art really is, and at the same time, it's also political force in the society, right? Artist that wants to change the society into something better, wants to challenge the taboos of society and so on. And I just wanted to talk a little about why I have been doing art, and how things may see from my point of view. I've been involved in some of the most changing events of European and in Western society. Among them, I'm a part of the Wilks Committee or a kind of a close member of the Wilks Committee that was attacked at the Krudttønden, at the great terror attack here in Denmark, right after the Charlie Hebdo attack. So, and a lot of my friends who were there are also artists who are kind of avant-garde artists that really changes things. It's called liberal arts, right? And the thing is about liberal arts, it goes with the definition. Liberal arts, it's about freedom, liberty. But there is a kind of a strange, to me, there's a kind of a strange relationship between mother and son, in a sense. My mother, she was a liberal, right? Wonderful little liberal person. She was a teacher, and she, went in her time with all these artistic things. She was very multicultural and blah blah blah. And she was the one. She was the kind of type that would go to museums and look at paintings and see them and think about how the beautiful. She's the regular museum going person, right? And I was brought up with all these ideas about liberal art, about enlightenment, and how to change things through challenging taboos, because this is the tradition that I'm a part of. In Denmark, it's called cultural radicalism, kulturradikalisme. But when I kind of started thinking about it myself, being a cultural radical, I just realized that in many ways all the ideals that she kind of had, not challenging anything, just being tolerant to everything, is fake, right? You cannot be tolerant to people who are intolerant, like people who wants to hit children, wants to kill gays and have no respect of common decency. That's what we call the Islamists, right? Those are the one who kills Yazidis and Christians and whatever. Being tolerant to these kind of persons, which was kind of in the package of multiculturalism when I was a child, I think that's basically it doesn't make sense, and it's to me it's a treason against the values that I was brought up with humanism, and being a human person that actually protects minorities, and that kind of gave me this rebel impulse to kind of trying to change this liberalism that I was brought up with, and say, well, you have to be more detailed. You have to understand this whole problem and this whole crisis that we are facing on a deeper level. Not just seeing it on a superficial level, but actually trying to understand what's beneath all this conflict. You talk about, Huntington talks about the clash of civilizations. Well, there is in a sense there's a truth in that, right? We have the Semitic civilizations that has been warring with the northern Viking civilizations for thousands of years. Goes through the Punic Wars, goes through the conflict with the Crusades, and there's been there's been wars going on the last 2,000, 3,000 years. So that's clash of civilizations. But I also think that, you know, there are more than just Muslims, you know, fighting the liberal democracies. There are actually Muslims who are quite democratic, right? There are wonderful persons who are humane and have a great heart for doing things for the weak person also. They're not all barbarians and the ones to kill and maim and are criminal. There are actually some persons of a Muslim background who are wonderful. My father was a Muslim, and he was a, you know, peace-loving, Gandhi-inspired Muslim. So I've been trying to truly understand the depth of these problems. Also seeing the you know, the clash between Western democracies and the Caliphate Sharia Islamist view of things, and this whole, you know, actually very liberal rebellion against my mother's, I think, in a way, shallow understanding of things. Right? We should just be tolerant and sit in a, you know, sing Kumbaya, and then everything goes well. You know, it's okay. You know, it sounds nice, but it's shallow, and it's without wisdom. And I think liberalism has to be based on wisdom. Otherwise, it's just dumb, right? It's just stupid. I'm sorry, but and there are these kind of conflicts between mother and son, and I think, you know, I've brought some philosophies that has been underpinning a lot of the fight against Islamic State and some of the things that's going on in Europe right now, you know, with the terror and everything. And I think these values and these virtues of democracy and being a humane person will be, when I'm old and sit there with my gray hair and I have children and they said, you know, whatever, father, you just, all your stupid old ideas, you know, there will be another generation that will say, well, now your ideas are old and shallow, and then, you know, that's just the way it is, right? It's a generational thing, you know. You have mother, you have son, and a new son comes up and tells his father that he's stupid, and that's the way it should be, right? You know, liberalism is about changing things. It's about understanding that there are new situations that you should understand through the view of humanism and light, and actually not through the views of being you know, tyrannical and then trying to tell people what to do or not to do. I have some wonderful liberal friends as well. This is just my story. I'll give you another story, which I think is fun. I have this wonderful friend called Uwe. He's a painter, and he's kind of a hedonist. Hedonist is sexual freedom. This is not really my scene, you know. I'm a family man, and I have a child, and you know. But you know, he's my friend, and in Denmark there's a lot of this, you know, sexual freedom, doing, you know, rebelling in this area as well, and it's also very much a part of the, you know, institutionalized museum-going crowd. And this funny story about him, when there's a museum here in Denmark called the Museum of Modern Art. It's a bit like MoMA in New York. But yeah, okay. So we went there, me and Uwe. Uwe, he's kind of the, you know, very liberal, and he has this thing about, you know, throwing off his clothes all the time so that he will provoke people. And in the museum, we found this other artist that was a bit like Uwe, but just 70 years ago. He's called Wilhelm Freddy, and he's a surrealist. And the surrealist at that time, what he did was that he made this kind of funny little head of a thing, and he painted a kind of a penis around the ear. And at that time, doing that was, you know, he was thrown in jail for that. Painting this, you know, today painting a penis somewhere is, you know, you don't go to jail for that, but that time you go to jail. And we went over to see this Wilhelm Freddy. He's obviously a great ideal of Uwe. And then the people of the museum, they have heard that Uwe was there, and they're quite afraid of him because, you know, he's always throwing off his clothes, right? So they didn't want him to, you know, throw off his clothes in the museum. So they went over to him while we were looking at Wilhelm Freddy, who was at the museum, being one of the heroes of our music, our artistic development, and they really wanted to stop Uwe doing the same thing in their museum. And I think that's kind of also the story about the mother and the son, right? Okay, so the son of some liberal 70 years ago, Wilhelm Fredi, he became famous and he went to jail and he changed things in that time. But then the mothers comes there and then the new sons, they're doing things again, right? Oh, and they don't really like it. So they're trying to stop it in a sense, but still being their own sons, they can't really stop them because they know that sons are supposed to be rebellious and change things. So there's this mother-son relationship. But the good thing about it is that this rebellious involvement gives change, right? Gives change. It also, I think what's really important about it is that you have to be clear about where you stand. I stand on the firm basis of democracy, freedom of speech, of humanism. From there, from that point of view, I criticize. I'm not criticizing from a point of view. I support my nation, right? I think everybody should support their nation. But my view of a nation is not kind of, old racist white man's dominion. It's a community of democracy that I support. And I think if you really do that as a liberal person, that if you're clear about your own values and where you stand from, then you're always allowed to criticize, and people that respect it, and they can see that you might sometimes be kind of what is it called in Denmark, the salt in the soup, right? The spice that actually makes things, go on. And if I should give an advice to any liberal artist, I mean that is, go into yourself, see what's really true about your own, own values of democracy and human rights, and look at the world and see what's really happening. If you're able to do that, and if you are courageous enough to conclude, against the stream of the society, then you're a true artist. That's really what a true artist is, right? He's the person, he's, can be a man or a woman, but he's a person that realizes that there's something wrong in society, and he knows his own values, and he's courageous enough to stand up for freedom of speech, for humanism, for democracy. Then that's where true and great art really happens, in my view. So that was that. Hope you enjoyed it. All right. Peace.